that third party assessment look like? I know it's agentic and you're going, but like what factors are you looking at and what do you get out of that?
Got it. So, Chris, let's first understand that how has this been done historically? Because this is a $4 billion
Yeah,
industry, third party risk management for cybersecurity, by the way, right? So it is a
right.
very large industry. Historically, there was a wave of vendors which were only questionnaire based assessment. So there's vendors like Process Unity, OneTrust, Prevalent. There's a ton of vendors which are out there, including the traditional GRC vendors, which basically give you a ton of questions and you need to answer those questions. So you're a new vendor, you're Anthropic, and I want to work with you, right? I want to use your LLM models which are there. I'll send you a security questionnaire. It'll have 150, 200 questions, whatever it is. And you need to answer manually, one by one. Do you have two-factor? Do you have EDR? Do you do periodic VAPD? Do you back up your solution, et cetera, et cetera? So this was a wave, right, of vendors. And by the way, it still exists because, you need the data and, that's just the reality. Then there came a second wave of vendors, which promised, hey, questionnaires are clumsy, very, very difficult to fill. So now we will just go ahead and look at your website. So let's assume I want to onboard McDonald's as a third party. So I will just go in and say, go to mcdonalds.com and scan McDonald's from the outside. Look at the open SPF records, DKIM records, leak credentials, some things around the website. And then come back and say, okay, this is the security posture of that vendor. So there are companies like BitSight, Security Scorecard, UpGuard. There's a host of companies which only do outside-in assessment. Now, the good thing about these vendors, they're
Right.
super easy to use because you're just, entering the domain name. The problem of these vendors are they're very narrow. It's almost like saying, I'll click your picture, and based on how the picture looks like, I will tell you how healthy you are. Now, maybe sometimes I can, get some things right because, some of the diseases show on your face. But 99% of the times, no, you will not get that right, right? And that's been the fundamental problem with these companies. Think of us as a third wave, which, by the way, is not the first or second. We've actually got the best of both those worlds together and powered with agentic AI and supercharged with that. What does that mean? Let's double click on that. We are the first vendor ever to achieve 100% automation, 100% automated third-party risk management. Hold on, what does that mean? And what is 100% automation? And the geek in me, the moment somebody says, like the easiest way to disprove somebody is when they say everything or nothing. And I'm the same guy who's saying 100, right? So hold on.
Yes, for
So
sure.
talk to me more about what does that even mean?
Right.
Is that even true or is it marketing bluff? Let's double click there. So today, when you have to onboard a vendor in most Fortune 2000 companies, you go in, enter the details of the vendor. Then you prepare a questionnaire depending on the tier of the vendors, send it out to them, get those, then open a security scorecard or a BitSight, get the outside analysis, get that assessment, keep chasing the vendor for weeks because, 150, 200 questions. You keep doing that 80%, 80% of a day of a third party risk analyst today is just about chasing vendors. It's such a terrible job in my view,
Yeah.
right? Because it's so unfortunate because, and by the way, every week there's a bunch of new third-party vendors that somebody in some part of the business is throwing at you. And by the way, you are not seen as somebody who's helping. You're only friction in that process. And because think about it, like, oh, the CFO wants to work with a new fintech startup. And oh, I need to get the security review done. And the CFO has the budget already approved. They've gone through a POV. Everything's done. And you're the person who's holding it back, right? So I've gone to so many third-party risk analyst conversations. And I said, how long have you been doing this? They're like, oh, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Okay. In those 10 years, How many third parties have you ever been able to bar from working? And believe it or not, most of them said never. I'm like, hold on, how crazy is this, right?
Yeah,
Imagine for 10 years, you're doing
for sure.
assessments whose result is not binary, it's unilateral. The vendor always gets through. Now, you being there or not being there doesn't make any difference. And they're like, yeah, but I mean, I just tell the people this is the risk and everybody's okay with the risk. So what we've done, we've taken a fundamentally different approach. We've totally changed the game there. Have you ever experienced Tesla full self drive or Waymo? Have you guys experienced it? Okay. If you
Yes.
have, when you sit in a Waymo or a Tesla FSD enabled, right? You just enter the destination, hands off the steering, and that's it. The car takes you there. Every decision is made by the car. We have unlocked that degree of autonomy with third party risk management. What we've been able to do, Chris and Sandesh, you just go ahead and basically write that, look, we will go ahead and provide the third party vendor name and the domain name. That is all we need. And by the way, sometimes you don't need to add that. I can go and integrate with your contract lifecycle management tool and pull that in also. And I can get all your 1,000 vendors and put things together. So that's totally possible. So, long story short, all I need is the name and the email address of the third party vendor. The moment you do that, our GenAI agent will first go to their website and look for their privacy policy. We'll look for their trust center to download the SOC 2 report. It'll go to the SEC to see if there are any 10Ks or 8Ks filed with specific stuff around cybersecurity. Then we will go to the point of providing what is the overall view, that is there any leaked credentials about them. We will also do the outside in assessment. And from there, we will now auto generate an email which will go to a vendor, which basically tells the vendor, hey, very, very excited to onboard you. Out of the 150 questions that you had to answer, we've already pre-answered 75 of those, whatever the number will be, depending on what data we get.
Hmm.
You're just required to answer these 75. And this is an auto-generated email. Suppose the vendor does not reply in a day or 2 or 3 days. We again go back and we say, hey, you've not responded to it. We're waiting for your reply. Now, when the vendor looks at the email and says, okay, I want to work on this now. So they click on it, they come to our portal. We've gone to the point with agentic AI where we allow the vendors to upload any security document, any. So we don't need now SOC 2 or SIG report only in this format. We say just drag and drop anything that you have. And our GenAI agent will read that report. And by the way, with that report, because a lot of companies already have existing security audits done and security compliance done. So we read that and we said, hey, you just uploaded a new report through which we were able to answer 10 more questions, 20 more questions. And then you can just go ahead and add 5 or 10 more things. So that's the thing. And the whole interaction with the third party vendor is happening via an agentic AI. And this is recorded as an activity log to say, this is the day when you kickstarted the onboarding. This is the day you did blah, blah, blah. And then from there, you drive things around that. So I'll just pause here for a second to see, does that now give you a perspective of the end-to-end workflow and why we say it's 100% automated? Now, what happens if somebody's not responding or responded wrong? We'll, of course, do the check with agentic AI. Is it 100% accurate? No, it's not. But so is Waymo. So is Tesla fully self-drive, right? Yeah, I tried to drive Tesla FSD.
Right.
It started with only the highways, and today also in the city I have a problem with that because it just won't take a left if there's a car, and it doesn't going 10 blocks down because that's how it is. So that is the thesis of why we say 100% automation. And again, we don't know any vendor which is even close to this. And as I said, we always want to build something which is 10 times, not 10% better. And that's why this crazy growth that we are able to see.